Welcome to the Abington Town Manager's Corner. And my name is Michael Maresco. I'm Abington's new town manager. And I am here today. We're talking, as folks know, we have town meeting coming up on May 4th, and we're faced with some very serious financial challenges this year. Thought it was important that I have a number of our department heads in to talk to the residents, talk about a little bit about what their department, the services that they provide, the challenges and the consequences of those cuts if the override doesn't pass. The override, as we don't do that many of them, but there would be a vote at town meeting on May 4th, and then on May 16th, there'll be a special town election where people will have to vote at the ballot box. In order for the override to pass, it would have to pass at both of those. This morning, I am joined by Dr. Felicia Moschella, who is the superintendent of our schools, and she and her team do a fantastic job of providing an incredible educational opportunity for all of our students. So welcome, Doctor.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, of course, absolutely. And as you heard me say, it's I really want people to, I mean, most people know what the superintendent does, the services that school provides, but you know, we may have residents out there, they don't have children in our school system, but they are taxpayers, and we're asking them to dig into their pockets and pay a little more so that we're able to continue to provide the best educational opportunities on the South Shore. So with that, as we discussed, I have some questions that I think will help to enlighten some of our residents. So we'll start off, we feel, well, you know, do a little welcome if you'd like, and then maybe just talk about just a little bit about your background, how long you've been with the school system, and the superintendent, assistant superintendent.
Sure. So Dr. Felicia Moschella, this is my second year as the superintendent of schools in Abington. I feel very lucky every day to be working in this community and with the members of the school department. I've been working in Abington. This is my 21st year in Abington. I was the middle school principal at the old Frollo Middle School, and then I became the assistant superintendent, and I was the assistant superintendent for business and finance for 17 years. And so I've again been in Abington a long time. I feel as though I'm part of the community. I've watched many families raise their children through the Abington Public Schools and been lucky enough to graduate their students from the Abington Public Schools.
Oh, that's great. That's fantastic. And I'm sure that over the time that you've been here, you've seen a lot of challenges. There's been ups and downs when it comes to revenues. And Doctor, one of the things that I mentioned to folks, I'm interviewing other department heads, and one of the things I want to drive home is that this is not mismanagement. This is it's very simple. It's revenues. We just don't have those revenues coming in, whether from the state or from our own community. The revenues just are not growing. As folks know, there's Prop 2.5, and you know we maintain there's only 2.5% over the levy each year. But there are things that challenge us from a budgetary standpoint. And it's really no different than people's household. We're plagued by increased cost in gas, pension, health care. And then, you know, we look at revenues coming in from the Commonwealth. This year in the governor's budget, the revenue, the money that we're going to get, Chapter 70 and unrestricted, you know, it's a little over 2%. But when you factor out the cherry sheet cost that we have to pay, the offsets to the state, it's really only 1.1%. And, you know, it's incumbent upon us as, you know, you running your department, running the town, I have to make sure, you have to make sure that we're competitive when we pay people. And, you know, if we're giving out, you know, people say, well, why doesn't the town work within that 2.5% parameter? And it's very difficult when you have the pension fund going up, healthcare going up in double digits. Anyone in Plymouth County, for anyone that's not a teacher, because the teachers are from the Mass Teachers Foundation, but regular employees, it's Plymouth County, and we're an accelerated program, so that drives that pension cost up, and we want to try to get to the magical 2032, which would free up some funding. So I think it's important that the residents know that all of our department heads, whether on the school or town side, they treat it like it's their money. They work hard to make sure that we're getting every penny, every dime, grants, things like that. So it's really it's the revenue issue. It's not something that we take lightly when we have to ask people to dig into their pockets to provide some extra funding. What I thought maybe would be helpful, Doctor, with maybe just a little quick synopsis of the realm of programs that you and your team provide to the children.
Sure. So we have 3 major school buildings, not major, we have 3 school buildings. We have the Beaverbrook Elementary School, the Woodsdale Elementary School, and we have the middle high school and pre-K here on Glenowitz Way. We are required by law to educate students that have special needs and are under kindergarten age. So we have a preschool program, and we go up through age 22 to students who also have special needs that are in a transitional program. So we educate about 2,200 students ages in grades pre-K to postgraduate. And our Beaverbrook Elementary School is grades K to 2. We have the Woodsdale School, grades 3 and 4. The middle school, grades 5 through 8, and the high school, 9 through 12, with that postgraduate program. We employ approximately 330 employees. That includes all employees, teachers, paraprofessionals, administrators, food service, custodians. So we have a significant number of people employed by the school department. And as you mentioned, we have some employees that are part of Plymouth County Retirement, and we have others, our certified staff are part of the Mass Teacher Retirement System. We offer a very competitive college preparatory program. We have high school students that go on to the best colleges in the United States, and we're very proud of that. We also have many students who go into the military and also into the world of work, and we're proud that our graduates are able to do what they choose after graduation.
That's great. I know when I was invited to do a budget presentation and answer questions with the school committee, I was very impressed with the school committee structure meeting, but also the information provided by a number of your department heads. And I know that night there was a big discussion on about AP courses and AP classes, and that's so competitive for our children to be competitive when they're applying to college. Maybe if you could just talk just a little bit about that, because I think that's an important facet.
Sure. So when you have the staffing levels that we currently have, we are able to offer advanced placement courses. We have advanced placement courses in mathematics, in science, in psychology, in history, in world language, and students are able to choose to take an AP course. We're also very lucky that students are recommended into advanced placement courses, but if a student is not necessarily recommended, but they feel as though they want that challenge, they can also request to go into the AP course. They meet with the department head, typically the teacher of record, and then they are able to take the AP course. So it's great. We have students that challenge themselves and take their advanced placement courses and may or may not choose to take the advanced placement test at the end of the course in the spring. We also have a relationship with Quincy College, and we offer dual enrollment classes. So there are students that take a course at Abington High School for both high school credit and possibly college credit. And at the end of the course, they can choose to buy the credits from Quincy College that can also be transferred into their college of choice when they go to be freshmen. And a great majority of the colleges that our students go to do accept those credits.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you. I'm sure that people tuning in and watching that may have not been aware of that will find that to be an incredible opportunity for those students. I want to get into now probably, to get into some of the financial challenges. We touched upon something like those programs. If we don't have the funds, we may not be able to do all of that. Might have to do some of it, but in a lesser degree. So I want to maybe ask you to get into just, sort of a broad picture, and then we can get into one of the things when you presented your budget, I stayed and I thought you did a really great job of articulating for the parents and other teachers from the team and stuff that were there, where the cuts are coming from, and it's painstaking when you're in positions like ours, because they're real people, and decisions that we make are going to affect their families and their lives, and we take it very seriously, and it's never easy to do, but I think it's important. Maybe if you can sort of give us a broader overview of that and how you came to that, and then after that, then we'll get into where the cuts will be and how they'll be affected, things
Sure.
like that. And I guess I'll let you start that, but then I want to ask, if the kids are concerned, and if the teachers and other people on your team, their concerns also.
Sure. So I think if I may, I think I should probably start with where our cost increases are coming from, because you see our increase number and people say, why are you looking at $1.6 million to do what you're doing this year next year? So if I may spend a moment talking about that.
Thank you.
So the first category of we call it our increase by major category, is our contractual obligations. And we have settled contracts with all of our unions, all of our employees. So for next year, we're anticipating it's going to cost $1,064,735 for our staff contractual obligations. One thing that I feel is very important in negotiations is that our teachers, all of our staff actually, all the staff in the Abington Public Schools are paid in the average range in this area. So we do a lot of work going into negotiations to look at what our area communities are paying. We want to be competitive. We want to keep the best in Abington. We don't want to be the lowest, because then people are going to leave more readily, and we don't want to be the highest because we don't need to pay the highest. We need to pay the average. And so every employee, from me to the teachers, every employee is in the average range in this area. So our contractual obligations are $1,064,000. We also have three employees that are anticipating retiring, so we're able to take an offset. We're going to hire people at a lower rate than those that are retiring at a higher rate. We have special education tuitions. We have students that we don't have a program for in the Abington Public Schools that fits their needs. So they go to school outside of the district. And we're anticipating a $1,000 increase in that for next year. And for every dollar that we spend for those students to go out of the district, the Department of Education reimburses us some for those expensive costs. So the district's responsible for about the first $50,000 of every student that goes out. And then for every dollar over that, the state gives us back 75 cents for every dollar. So we're anticipating next year a decrease in our circuit breaker by $197,000 because we have a decreased cost this year for special education. We are going out to bid. Actually, we're out to bid right now. Our bid is on the street for our regular education transportation contract, and we're anticipating a 15% increase in our transportation costs for regular education transportation next year. And special education transportation, students that go to school outside of Abington, we pay for them to go to that setting. There's also students within the Abington Public Schools that may not be appropriate to ride a school bus. So we are anticipating a $58,000 or 5% increase on special education transportation. We have a decrease in instructional materials, so textbooks, copy paper, pencils, calculators, all the things that we need in a classroom. We're anticipating an $8,384 decrease for next year. And much like we're seeing in our homes, we're anticipating an increase in electricity costs next year of $58,000 and an increase in our maintenance of our buildings of $74,800. I want to take this opportunity now just to mention that we have two aging school buildings. We have the Beaver Brook that was built in the early 50s, and we have the Woodsdale that was built in the mid-1950s. both of those schools, although we take great care and great pride in those buildings, they're aging, and their infrastructure within the building is aging. Pipes, electricity, boilers, roofs, those things are becoming increasingly expensive to maintain. We have a newer building. This is our 8th year in the middle high school, so there are costs associated with this building, but not the same as the aging infrastructure of the Woodsdale and the Beaverbrook.
And those are important distinctions to make because, you know, we as I mentioned in the previous interview that I did, and I'm going to mention in this one because it's important, we're looking at a level funded budget and level service budget. And the voters will have the opportunity at town meeting and then at the ballot box. Level funded is just that. People get the same amount of money in the previous fiscal year. But that really is a cut because it doesn't take into account collective bargaining agreements, the rise in fuel costs, pension costs, health care. So that's really a cut. It's the level service piece, which is that those extra dollars to hold us whole as we can be. But there are challenges, and I'm glad that you mentioned about the additional cost of having older buildings. It's no different than a resident and the maintenance of their home, the roofs and gutters and windows and all of that stuff. So thank you.
Correct. We have a very, very talented, devoted custodial and maintenance team, and they do everything they can to make repairs in-house, but there are things that need to be repaired by outside vendors. I should also mention that we have not cut our routine maintenance budgets. So the aging infrastructure is not because of not taking care of our buildings.
Right.
And as you mentioned, the difference between our level funded budget, which is what we got this year in FY26, versus what we need to do the exact same thing next year, the difference is $1,622,114. And that is the gap, that's the override number. That's not to add anything. That's not adding staff, that's not adding program, that's to retain what we have for this year and do it again next year.
No, thank you, because that's an important differential because when you're out in the community, I'm sure you hear it, that's one of the questions that people ask when they see that menu of how it's broken out. You know, they say, well, so that's all for new programs? No, that's to maintain what was provided in the fiscal year we're in now for the fiscal year coming up.
Correct.
And that's just the difference of what those cost. And it's nothing about mismanaging of funds. It's a pure revenue issue, keeping pace with inflation and the cost of running. You know, government is a business.
Yes. Running
a business, making sure that our employees are paid well, making sure that we have health care for our employees, you know, making sure that we're maintaining our buildings, because I think the residents and the taxpayers demand that of us. So,
correct.
Thank you.
So that's how we get to that number.
Right.
And just to reiterate again, this is not adding program. This is retaining what we have today, taking care of our buildings, and doing that again next year.
Right. So I know you've sort of touched upon this a little, but maybe just so voters have so what would be some of the challenges? So just assuming, before we get into exactly where the cuts would take place, but maybe in just sort of a general overview of what the effect would be of not having the difference between the level funded and level service budget, you know, how will that affect our students?
Sure. So in a moment, when I talk about what those positions and cuts are, I think it'll become a little bit more evident about how every single position that we're looking at for next year, if the override were to fail, impacts a student's experience in the Abington Public Schools. Every single position. We don't have any extra positions. There's no extra in our budget. So We have 330 plus employees, and that's where the cuts would come from. We don't. We need instructional materials. We need to heat our buildings. We need to pay our people. We need to provide transportation. So the cuts come from people. That's where the challenges are. Every single person, whatever their position is, has an impact on the student experience in the classroom. Custodians, cafeteria, administrators, paraprofessionals, they all work to support the work that happens in the classroom. That's the most important work of a school department, is what happens in the classroom between the teacher and the student, the paraprofessional and the student, the tutor and the student. And the other positions are in support of that endeavor in the classroom. So whether if you'll see when we get there, but there's a cut of a custodian. Now, that might not feel great. Okay, we'll cut a custodian. Well, that's going to impact the cleanliness of a bathroom, of a classroom, of a hallway. That's going to impact the student experience. We are at minimum levels for those types of positions, custodians and maintenance, and they do a fabulous job. But reducing it is going to have an impact. I believe that student experience also includes the arts and music and athletics, and those things right now are not going to be cut in this proposal, because I believe that's what makes a school experience for students. Whether it's the middle school drama production that they're working on right now for a play in a couple of months, a month and a half, I guess, or the play that happened last week by the Abington Drama Group. Fabulous job. Spring athletics are starting. The number of students in middle and high school that are involved in those extracurricular activities that make the school come alive are important for the success of our schools.
I love that, Doctor. I appreciate. I love your holistic view of everything, because I share some of that, all of it actually. I think it's so important for students to have the best, to be challenged mentally on the educational piece, but I also want them to be happy and to be able to see, be able to. I had the opportunity to take my family. We went to see the Abington show. Phenomenal job. The students were so excited. My kids were in drama and music, so I know all the extra work that takes place, and the adult leadership in the drama department, making sure that the kids have all those tools readily available. That's part of that experience you're so correct on. Same thing with sports. We want the kids to challenge their minds, challenge their bodies. It's important that we have robust sports programs. So it's all of that. And, the hard thing, I think, for you and I is that the budget, really, about 80% of the budget is people. You can't provide those experiences without people. The people are the ones that really make it, the community's like a family. They are the family. They're the glue that keeps it all together. So, and I want to commend you and your staff. It's one of the things that attracted me to Abington was I did take a look at the education, and education is the foundation of a community, and I think you heard me mention is a direct proportional relationship to how the school system is perceived and the value of your property. And people may say, well, that doesn't make any sense. Well, it does, because for most people, single largest asset that they'll ever own is their home. Correct. And we want to attract young families. We want young families to come here, to go to our schools, to live here. The kids go off to college and maybe come back here someday and, maybe, want to be the superintendent or the town manager. Yes. or run. I want to, commend the school committee. They've been very supportive. Everyone's been great. It's tough coming in the middle of a crisis, and I want to say thank you to you. You've been nothing but open and welcome. The school committee, and just so folks know, you and I talk every other week. Now, we didn't get together the last 2 weeks only because we've been at one another's meetings, and we're getting together today, so we sort of know. But I'm committed to having that conversation, because in some communities there's sort of a wall between the general government side and school, and it's not. We're one town, one group of people, and it's imperative that we work together, and I
Thank
do
you. And I just want to
appreciate
reiterate the thank you. In my tenure in Abington, not just as superintendent, I've had a very good working relationship with Town Hall and management in Town Hall, as well as the chiefs and the department heads across the town. I think one thing that makes Abington very special, I can't compare it to other places because I've been here a long time, but one thing that makes it very, very special is the camaraderie and the relationships that we all have. I say all the time, I'm hired to advocate for the school department. That doesn't mean I'm not a partner with the town and with other departments. And I am very happy and glad that that has continued, and that is a priority for you.
Excellent, thank you. I feel the same way. Doctor, probably now's probably a good segue into, if the override doesn't pass, and we hope that it does, but we need to be prepared as professionals, and I want the voters to understand that this is very significant, and this will make changes those changes will affect our students, will affect the professional people that we have that provide these services. Maybe get into where the cuts will be.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you for that opportunity. I want to start by saying that this has been a very, very challenging budget season and a challenging experience for our administrators to look at the Abington Public Schools as a whole and look at how we can make up a $1.66 million gap. Every single stone was turned, every expense was looked at, and at the end, as I said previously, there's no extras, so it went right to staff. And we took a very, very surgical approach to looking at every position and the impact that position has. And I hate this expression, but I've used it a lot. We needed to make the least bad decisions because they're all bad. Right. So what's the least bad today? I also want to reiterate what you said, and that is we're also very cognizant that these are people that for every position there's a person. And for every person, they have made a commitment to work in Abington. They've made a commitment to work with Abington students. And so we're very aware of how challenging that is for the 28.1 full-time equivalents that have been notified that their position may be cut if the override doesn't pass. That notification was made prior to us making the positions public, and that was something I felt was very important, that those people that would be directly impacted, whose name would be up on the screen, whose positions would be out in the public, needed to know it was them. Needed to know that whether it's the seniority list or the needs of the district, that their position is the one that's going to be cut. And those were very difficult discussions, as you can imagine, for our principals to have with their staff. I'd like to thank our principals for having those discussions. And I'd also like to thank those 28.1 FTEs that had to have that difficult conversation, showed up to work the next day, and continue to come to work every day and do their best work, knowing that their job may be in jeopardy. So thank you to those people.
True committed employees.
True committed employees. There was an impact in the culture of the buildings. Like these, our friends, our colleagues may be losing their job. I can tell you, I've checked with the principals. I continually check with the principals, and while it's a black cloud hanging over, our staff is back to. Didn't skip a beat teaching our students. So thank you to the faculty and staff in Abington. It's been a rough month or so.
It has.
So our positions, as I said, we took a very surgical approach. Our approach was not to say, and this school needs to cut 10%, this school needs to cut 5%. We didn't do it that way. We did it as each position and each person, each position and the impact, the least bad. Right. So our first position is an administrative assistant. That's someone who is in central office, and that impact will be decreased support for new hires, for the operations of the district, registrations, transportation, data collection. This person keeps track of all our queries, all our fingerprinting. Those tasks will still be done, but by other people. So it will still, again, have those. It'll be more for the other people in the office. We're reducing both summer custodial and summer technology assistants. We hire students in the summer to help with summer custodial and technology tasks, and we're decreasing the amount of money set aside for that, which will impact the ability for those tasks to be completed. Some technology work is going to be not done this summer, will have to be put off, and the same thing with custodial. There are some things that we would regularly, do in the summer that may not occur because we'll have less bodies to work. At the early education program, that's the pre-K program, we're reducing by 0.2 of a speech and language pathologist, and that will impact the service delivery for students. So right now, students receive more push-in or individual attention, and this will students will receive their services in a small group. So we'll still, any special education cut that we make, I think it's important that people know that it won't get us out of compliance. We'll still be following the individual education plan, which is a legal document, but we are changing how we do it, which may not provide the same level of care for those students, but we'll still be providing the service. At the Beaverbrook Elementary School, that's our kindergarten to grade 2 school, we're reducing a special education teacher, which will impact the number of students that are in a therapeutic learning program. We currently have 3 therapeutic learning programs. We're reducing that to 2. We're reducing by a grade 2 teacher, so that'll increase class size in grade 2 to approximately 21 students in grade 2, right when they're learning how to they've learned how to read. They're finishing up learning how to read. Now they're beginning to read to learn. We are reducing by 3 special education paraprofessionals. And a paraprofessional is a position that helps students typically in class under the guidance of a special education teacher and under the guidance of a regular education teacher, supporting students with disabilities. So we're reducing by 3 paraprofessionals. We're reducing, we have what are called tutors, and we're reducing by a social emotional learning tutor, and that's someone who would help general education students with school adjustment issues, mental health concerns, and behavioral challenges. So we're reducing that position. And those responsibilities will go on to other people, which would impact their ability to complete their job responsibilities at the same level they are today. At the Woodsdale Elementary School, we're reducing 0.1 of a music teacher, and we'll be able to cover those that music class, changing the schedule. We're reducing by 2 reading specialists. So at the Woodsdale School, where students in the earlier grades at Beaverbrook would have learned to read and come to the Woodsdale, and now they're reading to learn, but they're students that didn't make the same progress in the elementary school, and now they need reading intervention at the Woodsdale. We're cutting both of those reading positions. So it's going to eliminate small group targeted intervention by licensed reading specialists, and for those students that are reading at a below grade level.
Below grade.
Yep. These are not special education students, but they're students, regular education, reading below grade level. We're reducing the school adjustment counselor. School adjustment counselors focus on mental health and behavior challenges of students. We're eliminating, it's a 0.6 position, and we're eliminating that at the Woodsdale. We're eliminating an OG tutor. And OG is Orton Gillingham, and it's a special targeted evidence-based reading program for students who are in special education. And so now the OG services will be done by a special education teacher. And we're eliminating 2 math tutors. So students who are below grade level in mathematics today get small group instruction targeted by a math tutor, and those 2 positions will be cut. At the middle school, we're reducing a STEAM teacher, grade 5-6 STEAM, which is science, technology, engineering, art, and math. Those classes will be eliminated. Grade 6 will be reduced from 8 sections to 7 sections, so we're cutting a 6th grade teacher, and the average class size will go from approximately 24 students to over 28 students. We're cutting a world language teacher, which will reduce the number of days in grade 7, 8 that students get Spanish. So Spanish they'll have it every other day or for 90 days in the school year. And Spanish 1, which was an 8th grade course, will now be delivered over grades 7 and 8. So they complete Spanish 1 over grades 7 and 8 and will go to the high school ready to start Spanish 2. Grade 7, 8, half of a grade 7, 8 computer science teacher, and the digital literacy content and standards will be taught in digital literacy will be revised to include computer science standards. So they'll still have digital literacy, but not computer science. Right. 0.578 STEAM teacher. STEAM will be reduced from 60 days to 30 days, resulting in decreased time to work on the standards of science, engineering, technology, art, and math. Reducing a 0.4 wellness teacher, and that'll result in increased class sizes in PE from approximately 25 to 30 to 35, and in health from 20 to 25 to 30 students in health class. 0.4 music teacher. Due to scheduling, all students may not get their first choice. So currently, in grade 7 and 8, grades 6 through 8, you can choose whether you want chorus, band, or general music. You'll still be able to select, but you may not get your first choice based on scheduling. Right. 0.2 art teacher. We will combine sections, so there'll be larger art classes, which will impact the student experience in art class. And reduction of 1 special education teacher, and it will reduce the ability to have co-taught classes in grades 7 and 8. Abington High School. We had a 0.4 wellness teacher at the middle school. Here's the other part of that wellness teacher, 0.6 wellness teacher for Abington High School. That will reduce or eliminate our ability to offer PE and wellness options such as first aid and CPR, lifelong fitness, etc. As students do class selections, they're actually completing them this week, we'll know what courses more students signed up for, and those that not as many won't be offered, or some might not be able to be offered at all with the reduction of a teacher. 0.2 speech and language pathologist will impact, again, the service delivery of how we provide speech and language services for the high school. 0.4 art teacher, reduction in art offerings in digital art and photography, and larger class sizes in our remaining art courses. A computer science teacher. Computer science electives will be significantly reduced and won't be taught by a dedicated computer science teacher. We're cutting 1 English teacher, resulting in fewer electives, larger class size in English. 1 science teacher, potentially eliminating physical science, and resulting in larger class sizes for remaining classes, and again, decreased electives. Reducing 1 tutor for the transition program. That's our 18 to 22-year-old program, that those students go for a partial day at Abington High School, then transition at work sites with a job coach. And so cutting 1 tutor or job coach will eliminate the offerings of job sites that they may be able to go to. Cutting 1 tutor at the library. Right now, our library services grades 5 through 12. We have a middle school side and a high school side, and it's staffed by 1 librarian and 1 library tutor. They are also the first round of defense for computer issues for students. All of our students in grades 5 through 12 have a laptop. So when a student's having a laptop issue, their first stop is the library. And so with this cut, there'll be longer times to have first round of defense on your laptops, and it'll also impact the IT department because they're going to have to be providing more support in the library. And a cut of 1 custodian, and the custodian, that impact will be the ability to appropriately clean and maintain all areas of the middle high school and the AEP. I should add here that with those cuts to the middle school and the high school, we anticipate all students in grades 5 through 12 will have a minimum of one learning center, or as we used to call in the olden days, a study hall. So every student will have at least one block in their day that there's not a course for them to take. Right now, there are some students who have learning centers based on their the schedule of electives, but we are anticipating every student, a great majority of our students next year will have a minimum of one, and some may have two learning centers. We're also cutting our curriculum leadership at the secondary level. So we have 3 directors that are K-12 directors, art, music, and wellness. Those director positions, they teach and are curriculum leaders, so they will not have the curriculum leadership side. And then our department heads in English, math, science, social studies, and world language. And those department head positions are important because they are the leaders in the curriculum design and assessment for their department. And so there will be delays in curriculum revisions by not having these directors and department heads. And there'll also be a reduction in the support that our new staff get. Our department heads and directors spend time with our new teachers around curriculum frameworks, our school's curriculum guides, and so there won't be that. Those tasks will be moved to the administrators who have knowledge but not necessarily the content-specific knowledge. And we're also cutting the district translator, right? Now we have a paraprofessional who acts as a translator for us, and we're going to cut that position, which means that we will have an increased reliance on technology. And we have some technology that is directly interprets into multiple languages. And then we will also increase our use of outside contractors for interpreting services for things like suspension hearings, IEP meetings, things that have a legal piece to. We use an outside agency, and we'll have a greater dependence on the outside agency. So, in total, that is a full 28.1 full-time equivalents. So you heard in the list there are a number of .2s and .6s. Some of those are combined to make a full person, and others were able to reduce some portion of the job, but it's 6.7 elementary teachers, 8.4 secondary teachers, 11 support staff, paraprofessionals, tutors, and specialized tutors, and 2 support personnel, an administrative assistant, and a custodian. Out of the 28.1, we have 7 that, through attrition, we will be able to not have to lay someone off or pay unemployment for them. So our total people that are impacted, minus, for example, the retirees, are 21.1 people.
Wow. That is it is a big list, and I wanted the general public to see that. I'm sure some did tune in and see the presentation. They can go to the website and see it. We're going to have it up on the town website. We're going to have it up on I'm creating on our webpage town meeting section, so everything pertaining to town meeting will be there. But the one thing I do want to commend is that you've made a very difficult task. I hate to use the word manageable in a sense where not one sector was decimated. And it was, as you said, precision going in, which took a lot of time and work with your staff to come up with that. And that's difficult to do. We did it, and those are the cuts. If the override doesn't pass, those were the cuts that, in fact, will happen. You touched upon something very interesting that I think it's important to note, and that is there is a cost. So we're making cuts to deal with less revenue. In making those cuts, we also incur a cost, unemployment cost, and it's $33,100 for every person. And when we first got into these discussions, the doctor came up with a great idea, and she had asked the question, Andrew, who is our finance person, you know, these people buy health insurance, they won't be buying, can we do some offset from what won't be spent, use some of that funds to help? Because if not, for every one of these people, that everybody out the door is this 33. So we're looking at that, and then Andrew designed sort of a little chart of how we look at that. And the reason the state mandates this $33,100 is because that is if someone stayed unemployed for the whole period of time that they pay a benefit. That is the share of the benefit that we're responsible for. But not everyone does it. Now, I did mention that, in fact, there's 42 other communities that are in the same boat that we're in, revenue problem. They'll be doing the same exercise that we've had to go through. So, you know, in looking at, he put a matrix together, and we've come up with something that's much more manageable, and that will help us. But it's important for people to know, just because we're reducing our force, it's actually increasing. It's a negative cost to us because we have to pay for that. So
we've often said for every 2 you lay off, you have to lay off a third to cover unemployment costs. Normally,
that's how you would do it, and that would be a huge number, because it's the cat chasing its tail kind of thing.
Yes. So one of the things that you mentioned, and I failed to mention this when I talked about the impact of the cuts in the schools. One of the things that we knew would happen, and it has started to happen, is that really good people that are on our cut list would be seeking positions in other districts and would possibly be offered positions for this year or next year prior to the vote in May. And that has begun to happen to us. We've had a few people who have been able to get jobs in communities in Massachusetts that are looking for that specific position today. And so we've been able to work with that employee and their new district to work out when they would leave, but prior to the end of the year. And it's hard to say no to that when there's a chance they're not going to have a job for next year. So that's a unintended, we knew it had a possibility of happening, and it has happened. Also, there will be a number of people that I anticipate will be able to get jobs for next in some positions. Other positions, as you said, 40 communities, many on the South Shore, looking at budget cuts. But there are some positions that are harder to fill, and those people will get jobs for next year. And should the override pass, we'll have to fill those positions as well, because they were able to find positions in other districts. So I'm happy for them. I'm sad for us, because I do believe that we have the best staff on the South Shore. And
I agree with you, and that is what's so difficult. That you spend your professional career making sure that we're attracting the best, the brightest, the highly motivated people that show up and want to do the job, and then a situation that's not created by anything that any of us have done. Simply the economics.
Yes.
The revenues just are not there, and you have the potential of losing some of those good people. We're happy for them. Yes. We hope. I'm hoping that we're going through this exercise of explaining, because I want people to be well informed. And I tell people, call me if you have a question. Call 100%. Me. I don't have every answer, but I know the people to go to get the answer for people, because I don't want people showing up at town meeting or showing up at the special election box not knowing all of the information and the details. It's our responsibility to make sure that we get that out there, and you've done a good job of a very difficult. I guess what's the morale like with the students asking questions? Are students concerned? I know teachers and the adults are, but what about the children?
Our secondary students absolutely are asking questions. I was asked recently if I would be willing to meet with students, And I said, I absolutely will be happy to meet with students and talk about the impact. I can't tell them how to vote, but I can tell them what the impact is. And so I anticipate doing that. And I'm waiting for a few students to reach out to me. But there's, people have their favorite teachers. And it's not a secret what positions are being cut. And there's some positions that there's only one of, or there's only 3 of. So people do, it's not being broadcast what teachers are being cut, but students figure it out, and in some of their favorite classes, if you're very into computer science, for example, or you like the science electives and you know that next year some of those aren't going to be available, that impacts our students. And there's no doubt that if the override is to fail and we have to cut 28.1 positions, that the students will feel it next year for sure.
No, that's true. I think it's great to see that the students are expressing concern and they want to learn more about it. Because I think, it's a lot of people, adults think, well, the kids aren't going to matter, but it does matter to the kids, and the kids do care because it goes to it's those relationships that they build with those professionals. So is there anything else that you would like to mention or think that we need to mention?
I don't think so. There is one, and I said it earlier, I just want to say it again, is how proud I am of the faculty and staff and our administrators and our buildings. It's been a very challenging 6 weeks. Then we had a blizzard after vacation. It's been a challenging time, and I'm so proud of the work that they're doing every day for our students, and I have no doubt that they will be doing that work to the very last day of school. So I want to thank them, and I also want to thank you and our partners at Town Hall and our other department heads, because the success of Abington is because of everyone, the residents, the students, and the department. What we do is what makes Abington a great place.
I agree wholeheartedly with you, and I'm very pleased to be working with you and on the school side, and it's so important. It's, as I said, and I'll continue to say, it's one town.
Yes.
And it's incumbent upon us to provide the best services that we can for our residents and for our students. And I want to say thank you to you. And as we come to a conclusion, if people want more information, they can go to the school website.
Abington PS, www.abingtonps.org. In the top right corner is all of our budget information is there. Please take a look at it. I also encourage people to call me, email me, or you find me at the Frollo. I'm there early and I stay late, and I'm willing to meet with anybody, talk to anybody. I'm happy to talk through our cuts. I'm happy to talk through the impact. I've already spoken with a few residents over the last few weeks, and I appreciate that opportunity to get the facts out, and so that people have an opportunity to have the best information to make a challenging decision.
Great, thank you, Doctor. And just want to remind folks that we're going to have also the information up on the town's main webpage. There'll be an area designated for town meeting. We'll have all the financial information. We'll have the school department's budget, the town's overall budget, of which the school department is part of. Any other information that's important for residents to be informed and prepared for town meeting on May 4th, and then for the special town election on May 16th. So we ask people to go there to look at that information. If you have questions, feel free to call me. Feel free to email me, stop by the office. We're there to help you better understand what the challenges are that are facing our community. So I want to thank people for tuning in, and until we meet again with some more insightful information from our leadership team. Have a great day.